No country for minorities. Another Hindu lynched in Bangladesh. Putin and Zelensky's mediator push. Can and should India be the peace catalyst? Justin Trudeau left red-faced as Jagmeet Singh pulls out of the government. Kim Jong-un executes 30 North Koreans for flood crisis. And Namibians forced to eat elephants and zebras as the country's worst famine continues. You're watching Global Mirror with me, Shreya Upadhyaya. On the show today, we get to every major development from across the world that impacts you directly or indirectly. From Hindus being attacked in Bangladesh to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Brunei and Singapore, coupled with Namibia's unfortunate famine. We'll get you this and much more in the next few minutes. Let's begin with an update from India's neighbor, Bangladesh. Even as Muhammad Yunus, the head of Bangladesh's interim government, says reports of attacks on minorities are exaggerated, another Hindu has been hacked to death by a mob. 15-year-old Hindu, Utsav Mandal, was accused of allegedly making objectionable comments about Prophet Muhammad on social media and was reportedly beaten and killed by a mob inside a police station in Bangladesh's Khulna city. This attack comes amid the Yunus government saying that minority attacks are more political than communal. In an interview with Indian news agency PTI, Yunus criticized India's portrayal of the situation. Moving on, days after Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, said that India could be a mediator in the Russia-Ukraine war, Russian President Vladimir Putin has now endorsed India as a mediator. While speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Putin said that he's confident that India, China and Brazil are sincerely interested in resolving the conflict.
Is there any understanding of what country could be a mediator if the further negotiations occur? We respect our friends and partners who, I think, are sincerely interested in addressing all the issues and resolve all the issues associated with this conflict. First of all, it is Chinese People's Republic, Brazil, India. I'm in contact with my partners, and I have no doubt that the leaders of these countries, and we have the relations of trust and confidence with one another, will be really interested and provide a helping hand.
Earlier, remember when Prime Minister Narendra Modi had met with Ukraine's Zelensky in Kiev, he had assured him that India would be happy to contribute to resolving the war in any humanitarian manner possible. Now, with the war in its third year and both sides looking to maximize their gains on ground and otherwise, talks are a seemingly reduced task. The question remains, would India consider this role? We'll have to wait and watch. All right, shifting focus to the United States now. Russia wants Kamala Harris to win the US presidential election. Well, that's what Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, said in Vladivostok as he was asked who is Russia's preference. While making a light comment, Putin cited Kamala's infectious laugh as the reason to prefer her over Donald Trump. In fact, Putin made the ironic remark a day after the US Justice Department charged two Russian media executives over an alleged illegal scheme to influence the November election with pro-Russian propaganda.
If we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, well, he said that we should, that is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing, her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good.
This sounds like a movie plot. 2 months before the US presidential elections are held, alleged Chinese spies have been caught in none other than offices of New York governors Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo. Linda Sun, a former high-ranking aide, has been charged with acting as an illegal agent for the Chinese government. Sun, along with her husband Chris Hu, is accused of engaging in a web of activities to further Beijing's interest in the United States in exchange for millions of dollars in illicit benefits. Reports suggest that Linda Sun held different jobs during her 13-year work tenure in the New York state government. She was in charge of business development and Asian American affairs. But as per federal prosecutors, her real focus was doing the bidding for the Chinese government, including an important mission preventing officials from Taiwan from gaining access to the governor's office. She allegedly received funds for a lavish lifestyle that included a multi-million-dollar Manhasset mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, including a Ferrari, and amusingly, salted duck, which is a Chinese delicacy. Now, the couple's assets included a $2.1 million condo in Honolulu, a 2024 Range Rover, a 2022 Mercedes, and tens of thousands of dollars in various bank accounts. Her husband, Hu, has also been hit with a host of charges, including money laundering and bank fraud. Even though the couple has pled not guilty in court, the revelation clearly has raised concerns about a potential Chinese interference in the American elections and the expanding network of Chinese spies across the world. Take a look at this excerpt of my conversation with American journalist Ray Locker. This is nothing less than a movie plot, Ray. Two alleged Chinese spies being caught in the office of the New York governor. How is the US really seeing it? I'm sure there's a lot of concern given the fact that it's coming ahead of the presidential elections.
Well, it's always a concern when you have agents of a foreign government who have somehow managed to infiltrate government offices in the United States. And the accusations are pretty striking. I mean, the fact that they altered messages going to the governor to invite her and before her, Andrew Cuomo, to certain events with Taiwanese officials, and all of a sudden, the invitation disappears, and they find out that she is the conduit for that. That's something that anybody should be concerned about.
Ray, this also comes ahead of reports that suggest that the United States might be naming and focusing on Russia as far as interference in election is concerned. And this I'm saying as per a CNN report, which comes just hours before Attorney General Merrick Garland is due to make public remarks at the meeting of the Justice Department's Election Threats Task Force. So clearly, not just Russia, but now the United States has to look at a Chinese threat as well.
Sure. I mean, with social media, the lines of communications are wide open. You can penetrate the U.S. psyche with messages from China, Russia, Iran, you name it. By using, fake bots and other accounts on Twitter and other social media sites. And it's much harder to track. I mean, we saw that in 2016 with the Russian-funded advertisements that penetrated Facebook, spreading disinformation. So it's definitely something to be concerned about. I don't see that necessarily tied to this case. Clearly, the Chinese are working on a variety of fronts to gain information, and that's nothing new. But when, stuff like this happens, it's definitely of concern. Now, remember, this couple got fired, or she got fired in 2023 after they found a number of irregularities. And it's, rather stunning to me that people didn't pick up on this sooner. I mean, state government officials do not make that much money. Yeah. They probably get paid less in a year than it costs for a 2024 Ferrari, for example. So how did they accumulate enough money to buy a mansion in Long Island, or, all these different cars? I mean, anybody would see that on the face of it would go, what's up with that? And clearly somebody did notice a problem. We don't know exactly what the thing that tipped off authorities was, but there was obviously a problem that led to an extended investigation in this indictment.
Moving on, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is in news again for a rather bizarre and shocking reason once again. Kim Jong-un reportedly ordered the execution of 30 people for their alleged failure to prevent the severe flooding and landslides that the country witnessed this summer. It led to the deaths of about 4,000 people, as per South Korean media. Now, South Korea's Chosun TV revealed that Kim Jong-un demanded strict punishment for those held accountable for the deaths. The officials face charges of corruption and negligence as well. The rising China aggression, a safer South Asian region, and a country that is working towards a stable and inclusive Indo-Pacific. India has been reaching out to countries that are part of its Act East policy. Now, this week, in a first-ever visit by an Indian PM, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the country of Brunei, where he was received by the Crown Prince Haji Al Muttadi Billah. As the two nations marked 40 years of their diplomatic relations, Brunei, which is an ASEAN member as well, is important for India as a partner in its Act East policy, crucial to counter the rising Chinese assertiveness, and as an oil-rich country. Even though China is the biggest investor in Brunei, remember the two countries stand opposing in the South China Sea. Brunei is a claimant of the South China Sea territory, along with Vietnam, Philippines, and other smaller countries. But Brunei sees China's Belt and Road Initiative as a tool to bolster its own Vision 2035, which is an ambitious plan to create a more diversified, sustainable economy for Brunei. Earlier, I spoke with geopolitical analyst Madhav Nalapat. Listen in to that conversation. Professor Nalapat, clearly one of the most crucial and the biggest reasons for India to be reaching out to countries like Brunei is to counter the rising Chinese aggression. But my question is, have we been delayed? Have we been late in responding to and acting against the rising Chinese aggression, or there is still time left? Because as we know, economically, China is the biggest investor in Brunei, so there are close ties there. Have we been too late in reaching out?
Shreya, we've been exactly on time because tectonic shifts geopolitically are shifting, and they're shifting away from China. We're talking of micro-states. Look at Dubai, look at Singapore. These are tiny states in terms of land area, but huge in terms of economic impact. Look at Taiwan, small in area, but huge in terms of impact on technology. I want to say that Prime Minister Modi is the first Prime Minister in India to accept that the natural neighborhood of India is not just South Asia. All of us are obsessed with South Asia, South Asia, South Asia.
Yeah.
No, Shreya, it's Southern Asia. All the way from the Middle East to Southeast Asia is India's neighborhood. We are big enough for that. We are important enough for that. And this entire neighborhood is ours. So from that point of view, Prime Minister Modi is the first Prime Minister in India from 1947 to recognize it's not just South Asia, it's Southern Asia. That's our neighborhood. Now, coming to Brunei, we have talked to Dubai, we have talked to Singapore. Brunei is a very important country. Forget its per capita income. The fact is, it's a very moderate country. It's 100% Muslim and 100% almost moderate. I haven't heard of extremists in Brunei. If you have or somebody else has, please allow them to inform me. I'd like to know. And the royal family has kept it so. It's an outstanding royal family, committed to reform, committed to progress, committed to modernization, and has historically been very close to India, including the previous Sultan, Sheikh Hassan Bolkiah. He has been very friendly with India, and the current Sheikh is also now extremely friendly with India. So I'm very glad that Prime Minister Modi has gone to Brunei. It's a great statement, and it's important to go to this stronghold of moderation in a world where there are cesspools of extremism in different parts of the world.
Shifting our focus to Canada now, in a hugely embarrassing turn of events for the Canadian government, Khalistan supporter Jagmeet Singh's party, the New Democratic Party, pulled out support from the Liberal government right ahead of the general election next year. In a video message shared on social media, Jagmeet Singh said Trudeau will not be able to take on the opposition Conservatives amid recent polls showing them securing an easy win in the election. In fact, he also accused Trudeau of caving in to corporate greed. Remember, the Justin Trudeau administration has long supported Khalistan supporters on Canadian soil, even accusing India of plotting to assassinate Hardeep Singh Nijjar, something over which the government of India has lodged strong protests in the past and has led to strained ties between the two nations. Wasting food is so common and frequent that it is almost a habit for many people now. But here's something that perhaps should stop you from wasting food. Namibia will be killing over 700 wild animals to feed its people amid severe drought and famine. The animals set to be killed include 83 elephants, 30 hippopotamuses, 300 zebras, 60 buffaloes, 100 blue wild beasts, 50 impalas, and 100 elands. Over 157 animals have already been culled in the African country, yielding about 63 tons of meat. The southern African country had declared a state of emergency in May this year. Although it has faced severe criticism due to its decision to kill wildlife for meat, Namibia says it is a necessary emergency measure in the face of the current drought, exacerbated by climate change, that has led to widespread crop failures and livestock deaths across southern Africa, leaving millions to starve. All right, moving on. Plastic bags, wrappers, and bottles all over the ground. This is the paradox of modern India, a country rich in culture and potential, yet drowning in plastic waste. Plastic is unfortunately a staple in our lives, from the bottles we drink from to the bags we carry. But what if I told you that our love affair with plastic has now turned into a toxic relationship? India has claimed the title of the world's biggest plastic polluter, emitting a staggering 9.3 million tons of plastic waste annually. Now, this amount of plastic waste could fill an area equivalent to 604 Taj Mahals. This amount of plastic waste weighs about the same as 1.55 million elephants. And this isn't just about India. It's a global crisis. A hugely concerning 69% of the world's plastic waste emissions come from just 20 countries. With that, it's a wrap on Global Mirror, but we will come back next week with all the major happenings from across the world. Stay tuned. Namaskar.